This is our first event, the inaugural event, on the site where we are going to build the House of Hope. We've raised some money. The City Council has agreed to the Town Planning Commission. The plans have been discussed with the Building Plans Department, and we will simply wait patiently like every other person has to do, because if you annoy officials by trying to bring pressure to bear, you'll wait twice as long. I know, I used to work in the City Council. The point about the House of Hope, which I named originally the concept of an arts and culture education and training centre for the young people of Hout Bay. And then as the organisation grew and I acquired some staff, we have a manager, Debbie Butlander, who's been active for the last, I think, 200 years. She's not quite that old. And they said we need something much more catchy. We are building a House of Hope for the young people of Hout Bay. We would like it to be an example to the rest of Cape Town and perhaps other cities as well. For the moment, we work with other NGOs. We provide a little bit of finance, we provide a bit of coordination, and our purpose is to uncover the talent available in Hout Bay. And goodness me, there is such talent which needs to be brought out and developed. And this evening is one of those examples, where our little organisation commissioned a piece of work. The piece of work was modelled on the storytelling of that they heard a taste of earlier. And a dancer, Jessica Newton, who's based in Hamburg, came out to work with dancers, South African dancers, and also a young Chinese classical dancer. She actually is the starting point of this. Her name is Rita Chen. She's 15 years old, and she waded through my autobiography, 650 odd pages, and she was so impressed she spoke to her uncle, who is the international ambassador for UNICEF in Hong Kong, and he was so impressed they came to see me last night, and I asked, have you brought your checkbook? Well, after the evening, and I had explained what the project was about, this opening up of opportunity for people who, for generations, have been denied the dignity of their talent, their capability, the right not to live in shantytown forever, not just to live in reality, but to be trapped into having no hope at all, which is why our project is called House of Hope. And after all, we do live in the Cape of Good Hope, and in my lifetime, the change in the society of Cape Town at the Cape of Good Hope is immensely different from what it was then, where everything was directed to the privileged, well-off community, and now, with the aid of the city, with the aid of the province, we are able to move on and do things such as this to bring that talent to light. As I said, to commission music, to bring musicians together, cameramen, so that with Adam Asmal, who will produce a little film for us to put onto our website to record this evening. So if you get caught on the international website, you can say thanks, Dennis, and thanks, Adam, as well. But more important is that this is our inauguration. We organised it, we had some guarantees. We organised it in the hope that some people would come. And here you are, some 200 people and more. I'm absolutely amazed, delighted is the right word for that. And so I don't want to go on talking. I do enough of that. But we also have a commitment which I gave to the Minister for Basic Education, Andy Mochefa, that we would try to get a movie of the work done, of the growth of the work of arts and culture, to get a film of it into every school in Cape Town and as much as the Western Cape will reach. And I think that's terribly important because where did our freedom come from? Young people say, oh well, Nelson Mandela. And the narrative that we have is that Nelson Mandela sat in prison for 27 years, and he thought and he thought and he thought, and then he said to President de Klerk, you know, I think it's time we did something. And so President de Klerk, out of the kindness of his heart, said, okay, Nell, you can be released. And Nelson said, he said, you're going to be released on the 11th of February. And Nelson said, no, I need time to prepare. And the President said, you are being released. Where do you want to make your first speech? In Cape Town or Johannesburg? True story, by the way. And when Nelson was being brought from Victor Verster prison to Cape Town, where he indeed made the first speech, the welcoming committee were driving in convoy with him, and somehow they lost him for 2 hours. They just didn't know where he was, and they wondered if he would ever get to the City Hall in time. He made it. Nelson, of course, had a great sense of mass organisation. After all, what's the point of a political leader if he doesn't have people who hear him and take note and from whom he learns? And so when he was released and he made that first speech, he didn't thank the administration, the apartheid government, for releasing him. He thanked the people of South Africa, the Western Cape in particular, but South Africa as a whole, for demanding his release and the end of apartheid. And so yesterday there was this event on the Grand Parade. It wasn't praising the release of Nelson Mandela. It was called the 30th anniversary of the return of Nelson Mandela to the people of South Africa. And I think the distinction is important. Of course, somebody had to open the cell door. Somebody had to drive him to the gate of the prison. But he and his wife, then wife, Winnie Madikizela, walked out of prison, and you remember, hand high and a salute of the people. And it's important to know that in the end, the real narrative is that we had a brilliant leader, but a brilliant leader who remained in touch with the people. He could be authoritarian, but then Walter Sisulu, who recruited him into the ANC, would say, they had a pet name for each other, let us think again. And Walter, the greatest intellect of the ANC of that time, would enable him to reflect and rethink and stay in touch with what people were talking about. Not that he simply followed orders, but he remained in touch, and that's so important for politicians. What's relevant? We're in crisis, as we were then. And it was the people of South Africa, some 2 million people in the United Democratic Movement, who set Nelson free and brought an end to apartheid. We're in crisis now, there's no point denying it. The government admits it. We are not stupid, we can see it all. And only the people of South Africa, en masse, can deal with the corrupt ones, can demand that they face the music. This music, I hope, will take the corrupt ones to prison, and may they sit there for a very long time. And the point about this is that you steal the money which would enable more children to go to proper schools, to have more clinics, more medical care. They steal the future of our country from the poorest of the poor, and indeed all of us. And I do have to say that in every part of our community, whether you have one brown eye and one green eye and one brown eye and one blue eye, and you have a moustache or a beard. There are people who want to destroy our country. They sabotage it, they go on with their corruption, and only we en masse, can demand and insist that we support President Ramaphosa in his quest to put an end to this corruption. There are still people who are trying to get rid of him. There's a forthcoming conference of the ANC, a midterm review, and we hear the stories of people mobilizing to try and force President Ramaphosa to resign. He's adamant he's not going to, and we need to give him our support. And in fact, people are saying openly, those who are corrupt, those who are wanting simply to enrich themselves at the expense of all of us, must go to prison, or at least be put on trial, and if they're guilty, go to prison. We do it in a different way. President Ramaphosa is a politician through and through. If you think back to his origins as a lawyer founder of the National Union of Mine Workers, so powerful that when they threatened him, the mine workers said, if you touch him, the whole mining industry will come to a stop. And every government couldn't put 300,000 people out of work. And so he was able to continue, and as he grew, so we have him today, a steadfast, committed person, committed to the values of the generation of the Rivonia trial, of the rights of human beings, the right to equality of opportunity, to develop to the extent we feel we want to do. And I have to say, in that sense, I'm a liberal. Actually, I'm a Marxist, but I'm a liberal. And the point about that is that liberals keep trying to tell me what I've got to do. They are very dictatorial in their attitudes. That's just an observation from an activist for many, many years in my life. I want to welcome you again. I want to say thank you to Gareth Libber, who's a South African who played his first. He's from where are you from? Stellenbosch, I think.
Joburg.
Where?
Joburg. Joburg.
Oh, Johannesburg. He played his first concert, I think age 4, although he revises the story sometimes to say he was 7 years old, and maybe I've got it wrong and he's got it right. But then he was sponsored to go overseas and study in Germany, where he is a professor of music at a very famous art and culture university in Essen in Germany called the Folkwang University. And so he put this concert together, found the musicians. There's Jessica Newton, our dance instructor, South African, practices in Hamburg in Germany, but dancers from South Africa, dancers from China, musicians based in Berlin and South Africa. And here we are doing what we want to do, is create a possibility for us, wherever we are, from whichever section of the population. No, I'm sorry about that. The state of the nation is stronger than me. I must sit for a moment. Excuse me. Just wait, let me turn. Take the microphone.
Debbie.
Thank you. The rugby player's back on his feet, sitting down. They always told me I talk too much, and so maybe I've just shown that it's true. And saying, again, thanks for coming, thanks for being here, thanks for supporting our inaugural event where we really want to overcome the divisions between people that we've inherited from our terribly divided past. And Hout Bay is a microcosm of South Africa. If you think of the hunger, coloured essentially, the Imizamo Yetu, our home, a shanty town, and the well-off village and valley, mainly white, but not only anymore. And there are people who still want to hold on to their privileges, but many others who don't. And those many others are here tonight. And that's wonderful to have you here, really and truly. It's a pleasure to have an idea and a dream of an art and culture training centre, to win the support of the city and the province, and our architect Jonah Eero, who's a trustee. He just happens to be married to my cousin, so it's all in the family. You won't mind that, I'm sure. But he is contributing his designs and his work and his staff as a gift to the people of Hout Bay, and that's tremendous. And as the classic phrase goes, without more ado, let's get on with the concert, let's enjoy it, and let's think about how we, you and you and you and you and me, and our children, our university students, scholars, how they are going to carry on this struggle for the transformation of our country. The narrative that Nelson Mandela whispered sweet words, and so we are now free, is such a distortion of history. In the end, there was the United Democratic Movement of trade unions, of church people, the Black Sash, sports people, some 400 organizations at the time, who came together and demanded our freedom. So when Nelson was released, as I said earlier, he thanked the people of South Africa for setting him free to return as a servant of the people of South Africa. We have politicians today, leading members of the ANC, who should learn from that and take it seriously. It's not one person who's going to overcome our current crises. It is we, our children and our grandchildren and so on. It doesn't take much to corrupt a country and to embed corruption, but it takes us generations to overcome it, and we have to overcome it. So that's why we're having this inaugural concert, why we're going to build the hashtag House of Hope here as a model for other towns in the Western Cape and the country. And so let's get on with it and enjoy the concert. Thanks for being here.